So I wanted to get you on today. Obviously, we saw your last fight at Bellator 252. You fought Manny Muro, and after the fight, you decided to retire. I'd like to know maybe your reasoning behind that. Was there a specific reason, or was it a culmination of things? Tell me what's going on there.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of things, So my fight before this, I had a big viral finish. I had like 40 million views. It was on Sports Center. It was on all this stuff. And I thought that I kind of earned my right to get a good contract with that. Bringing that much notoriety to the cage and just becoming kind of this viral sensation. But they still didn't give me a contract, and I had to have knee surgery because of that fight. I got fixed up. I went on the straight and narrow. Didn't have a single sip of alcohol since surgery, which is about almost a year ago now. I've just been training my butt off. And basically they said if I went out and performed, they maybe give me a contract. And I just had all this pressure and all this stuff. And, I just didn't feel like at this point in my career, if things didn't go the way I wanted, that it was worth it anymore to keep fighting.
Yeah.
I run a gym and I've had it for, it'll be 7 years, I think, in May. I opened up in 2014. And I mean, because I opened my gym, my entire pro career, I've been my own head coach. I've never had a coach since I went pro, watching me spar, coaching me while I'm training, coaching me while I'm doing my jiu-jitsu rounds. And that's all because of my own choice. I chose to open up my own gym. I started cross training more once I got to the UFC, going down to Joe Lozon's once a week. Sometimes twice a week. But even then, I'm going down there to get good work with really good, talented fighters and stuff. It's not really, I'm going down there to be with the head coach. Joe was always super nice and willing to coach me whenever I go in fight and stuff. But really what I need is guys that are talking to me while I'm training, and while I'm doing all these sessions, I need to have that familiarity to translate over to the cage when I'm actually fighting. And it's just, I have probably just over 200 students at my gym, and it's just something that I need to give to them now. Instead of sparring with them, I need to make sure they don't have the disadvantage I had because I chose to do this. They are choosing to train at my gym, and I can only, be leading by example for so long. I did it for a long time. They've seen me be the first into the fire, but now I need to watch them walk into the fire and make sure that they have all the proper tools to not get burnt. I need to coach them while they need to spar. I need to coach them while they roll jiu-jitsu. I need to see things they're doing right and wrong. I need to come up with codes for them so that, whenever they're, we're trying to set up something specific for a fight, the other coaches aren't hearing, and they, we can have, our connection in that way where, they can hear it and they can respond to it and not worry about, it being already kind of out there for the opponent to know what they want or what we want. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot of stuff, it's just, the big thing is like this fight, I walked out, I'm very motivated by my team and my family and stuff. And there was no crowd. It's the first time in my career I didn't put on my headphones and go in this deep, dark place before I fought. The last fight, I had thousands of people chanting "Pig Father" for me, and like it was this big energy, and that always fueled me to keep going back out there. Even though I win and I get injured, like I'll come back and I'll the goal is to get a good contract and get paid well. This fight, after I pay management, after I pay coaching, after I pay taxes, all that stuff, a couple grand is not enough to be devoted to being a competitor for, that, which was a full year basically, since my last fight where I got injured and I just looked to come back. My focus has to be on my gym, because this is what I can do for the rest of my life.
Of course.
And also, one little thing that I like to do is I like doing little extra work in like movies and stuff. And I just had a part in a feature film which paid 5 or so times what I made for this fight, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I was there working for 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
it was so fun. It's an amazing time meeting famous people. Like, you know, it's super fun, and it's just like it's just something that I could do for a long time, get paid better than how I was for fighting, and then I can just go right back to coaching. And I'm not going to come back super banged up or anything.
Yeah.
It's just 10 years of fighting, and the gym is doing so well that I got to focus on these guys.
Yeah.
And that's really it. You know, if I got a good contract and I was like, all right, financially, this is making sense, then I'd go out and fight again. But the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You know, it's too much on the body. It's too much time away from family, too much time away from coaching my students. And then at the end of the day too, is whenever I am fighting, you know, I already kind of mentioned how I'm the only one that's kind of really coaching me each day. You know, I have guys helping me out, guys willing to corner me, you know, close friends, guys that coached me for a long time that are there for fight night. But, you know, I put myself in a position where I don't have it while I train, and it's really tough. And then whenever I'm about 4 weeks out from a fight, I get my classes covered that I teach so that I can focus for 4 weeks on just me. And even though it's just me, I'm still not really getting coaches watching me do it. You know, I'm traveling to Hard Knocks Muay Thai to get a day a week with my pad feeder and my coach Jake, who's phenomenal, who's a great addition to me. You know, I'm going to keep training for the rest of my life with him. But it's just like that 4 weeks of selfishness is what, like, my last opponent who trains at Wicklejohn, you know, he trained, his coach was Six Gun Gibson or whatever, you know. It's every day of their life that they train selfishly. Because that's what you got to do as a fighter, you know. So I'm spreading myself thin, and I've succeeded on a world stage for a while. You know, I've had ups and downs, but I've won in UFC, I've won in Bellator, I've won in World Series of Fighting. You know, I get to fight on Dana White looking for a fight. You know, all these great things. Yeah, won a New England Fights title, all this stuff. And there's nothing else that I need to prove, and it's just things that I don't want to sacrifice at this point in my life to go and make the corrections anymore. You know, I'd have to separate myself from the gym more than I have, and I don't want to do that. I want to be here in the moment with my fighters, and I want to watch. You know, I want to watch their careers develop and be part of it. And I want to see the UFC cage, the Bellator cage, the PFL cage, ONE FC one day, just from the other side, though. You know, I want to enjoy these guys, you know, the fruits of their labor, and just be part of that, because, you know, I think we have a really good thing going here, but I just need to focus on them to make sure that you know, they get to that next level.
Yeah, brilliant. It's funny you were saying about your 2 fights and such a contrast. You got your fight against Marcos Surin, where, as you say, you choke him out. You're in a packed arena and 40 million social media views to not a single person in the, you know, attendance wise, not a single person in the arena. But yeah, I suppose the other thing is you've become a gym owner at quite a young age, haven't you? So you know you've been managing a gym whilst trying to, you know, keep a career going. So whereas you're saying about the likes of, you know, Muro, your fought, who's completely, you know, just tunnel vision on the fight, you've got other responsibilities. So you mentioned about the gym. Is it NOSTOS or NOSTOS?
Whatever you want it to be.
Probably my accent.
So the background on it, I call it NOSTOS. Some people call it NOSTOS. I couldn't tell you. It is like a Greek background. When I first started running the gym, I was working full time at a Passport Center, 6:45 to 3:15 every day. Then I'd come here and teach every night. And then I would bounce on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, at a bar called Fat Bellies. And then I would also teach jiu-jitsu for a preparatory school in Danvers, Massachusetts. And I had to work at all those places to keep the lights on here. But the reason that I called it NOSTOS is because it kind of means like arriving at your final destination. So I had to do a lot of stuff in order to keep this place open until I could finally do it full time, which is what I do now. But the NOSTOS in Greek mythology, when the soldiers came home from the Trojan War, they called it the NOSTOS. So it's like arriving at your final destination. All these people died along the way, but it's like they finally made it to where they can kind of live out their lives and be happy. So, I battled through a lot of stuff to be able to keep this place. Through the pandemic, this whole main room that you can see here, this whole room was destroyed. Only when I was getting ready for UFC Argentina, this whole room was gone because we flooded. We have another small side room in there, like a cage room, and then our basement, which is fully matted and stuff. It wasn't done at that time, and we like went into crunch mode to try and get it prepared so that I had a place to train. But yeah, that whole camp was messed up for UFC Argentina because this place got flooded.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that's tried to get in the way of me and having this as a full-time gig. But, we always got to rise out of the ashes like the Phoenix, so yeah, it's that's kind of the NOSTOS thing.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, you hear something and you don't quite know the meaning behind it, and then I'm an English student, so I should probably know things like that. But yeah, that's brilliant. And it's just you saying about UFC Argentina probably couldn't have been a worse fight for that to happen. Because
Yeah,
looking on your record, that looked like the only fight outside the US.
yeah. Well, I won in Calgary, Canada, actually.
Oh yeah,
that's where I had my liver kick. But yeah, that fight was it was weird because I won in Calgary, and then I immediately went into physical therapy because my back was injured. And I just I was all messed up. My back was messed up before I even got to the UFC. My plan was to take a break from fighting after I won for World Series of Fighting because I couldn't even bend over and touch my toes. And that was I shouldn't have even taken the World Series of Fighting fight because my back was messed up. And then I won that, and then I got a short notice offer, 3 weeks notice to fight for the Dana White looking for a fight show. So, I had to take it. I won. And then I had, I just kind of kept battling through back injuries. And then I found out that I had a disc issue where the two vertebrae were kind of pushing against each other and they're kind of driving into the spinal cord. And it's just caused me a ton of pain and issues. So after Calgary, I was trying to get that taken care of. I was in physical therapy. And then they basically announced that I was fighting somebody. And I didn't even know about it. It was actually someone different. His name was Claudio Fuelas. And I called my manager. I was like, hey, what's the deal with this? Why would somebody say this? And he's like, let me go find out. And it turned out that they offered it to their camp first. And then they must have leaked the information that they offered the fight, but they hadn't even talked to us about it. So I was like, to my manager, Tyson of Top Game Management, I was like, so what do we do? I'm in physical therapy because my back's injured. He's like, well, we kind of have to take it. So I was like, okay, so I guess we're fighting. So then we had this camp. Right before I signed my contract, my gym flooded. It just completely destroyed my main training room. Thank God for gyms like Joe Lozon's gym, Lozon MMA, because I was going there once a week to get sparring in and stuff. And I'd go there Mondays too for some jiu-jitsu and stuff. But yeah, we lost a lot of students when that happened. This whole main room was just completely wrecked. So yeah, it was just a weird time in the career.
And yeah, probably you might disagree, but one of, if not your best victory. Like you could maybe go for the shooting submission, but for me, I will be straight with you, Devin. That body kick, the way it lands and you hear it, it reminds me of when Shevchenko fought Jessica Rai, and you could hear it hitting like a bat. You can just hear
the head kick, yeah.
But I think in the first round of that fight, she keeps hitting the body, and then in the second she goes up and puts eye out. But it's exactly the same. You hear it, and you can just hear that. It's like someone hitting a piece of wood.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And it was actually, so that one was the Canada fight where I won. And then I went into physical therapy, you know, to try and recover from some injuries. And then I got booked for the Argentina fight. And that one I lost. I lost the decision in the Argentina fight.
Yeah.
I felt great in the first round. And I thought anytime I watch it back that I definitely won the first round. And then early in the second round, I got a hyphema in my eye, which caused my right eye to be completely blind for the rest of the night. Even while I was in the hospital, it turned out like a hyphema is just like a bruise in your eyeball, but the blood completely obstructed the vision.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a scary injury. Thankfully, there was no long-term effects of it at all. It was just like just a temporary like blindness in the eye, but mentally it messes you up. And then in between the second and third round, I was closing my eye because I could see better if I just closed it rather than keeping it open, because it was just like a really weird dark shade of yellow. So closing my eye and seeing clearly out of one felt better. So they pulled the doctor in because they saw me doing that, and they're just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And they let us keep fighting. If they did like the finger check to see like how many fingers am I holding up, I wouldn't have been able to tell them if they checked that eye, but they didn't. They didn't do that. So yeah, and then I went to a hospital / gas station for treatment in Argentina, which was really weird. There's blood on the floor where I went, and yeah, it was crazy. My foot was like fractured too, and they had to they were supposed to put it in like a temporary cast, and the person that does casts or whatever wasn't at the hospital to do it. So some lady had to try and create a paper mache, or like it seemed like a paper mache cast where they like wet it and then like stick it. And it was awful. It was just like, it was terrible. And it fell off before I even got back to the hotel. So it was a really strange time in Argentina. But,
Maybe never Argentina again, even though you've got the flag behind you.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, is that your daughter? Is it? It probably looks like she wants her to get out of here soon. But just the last thing if we can touch on, and then I'll let you go. How many students have you got? How many pro fighters, and how big is the facility you've got? Is it big or?
Yeah, I mean, I literally do a super fast walkthrough. I can put it on camera, it's
I'd love to. It'd be amazing.
It's not giant, but I mean, so we got this main training room, which is just kind of the big open room here, the lobby. Jefferson, who helps out with kids classes here. We're about to start partying with the kids. This is our cage training room here. Inside here, all the cage. A couple bags here, some strength and conditioning equipment, the weights, squat rack, some monkey bars, all that good stuff. Bathroom and showers in this room. And then we also have the downstairs too. So yeah, I mean, we got probably around 200 students. We're doing better every day. It's been a crazy time. We lost more than 50% of our students when COVID hit, and now we're back to better than we were before. Locker, changing areas back here. Got the Echo bike, and then here's the big downstairs here, so it all open with the wall work area, the sleds, and the ski master, skier, astroturf sled, the whole strip here for strength and conditioning, the battle ropes, and then we got a big bag rack, which all the bags are down because strength and conditioning classes, we don't need them all the time, but the bag rack goes the whole length here around and then comes around here too. We got a couple up right now, but not many. But yeah, so it's a little surprisingly big here. We can host a lot of students and fighters. Right now we have mostly amateur fighters. A couple old school pro guys are with us, but they're not fighting too much. So again, the biggest thing right now is the fact that I have so many kids coming out of college that are wrestlers and stuff that have like 1 or 2 amateur fights that want to build their careers. And I'm in a position where I've literally seen it all now. I've been in all these different big leagues. I've met the people that work with them. I created good relationships with all of them, regardless of, how my fights went or, how long I was with them. I never had a falling out with anybody. So, I'll never have an issue talking to any of these guys again for my fighters. And then I had a great manager too. I can point my fighters to as well if I want to help kind of build them once they get further along in pro careers and stuff. So, yeah.
So your kind of philosophy is to be the person that you maybe never had in your career for these fighters coming through. Yeah.
100%. And when I was an amateur, I had my coaches at the gym I was at, and then the gym that I was at closed down, and then some of those guys opened a jiu-jitsu gym, and I trained at the jiu-jitsu gym, and then I came to an MMA gym. It was actually where this is now. So when the place that I'm at now, where I would go for MMA earlier in my career, it was going to close because they didn't have students, and it was too tough for the owner to keep running it. So he basically gave me the opportunity to buy it out, make my own facility here. So we just revamped everything. We poured cement in the basement, matted everything out, created way more mat space, all new equipment everywhere, all this stuff to kind of create a whole new gym with a different name. A couple weeks after I kind of made my own spot, we opened the doors, and the rest is history. So yeah. And that, like, when I made that jump, that's when I lost all my main coaching, because I became the coach and I was running my own practices where I was working with all these guys, but now I need to work with them in a different way. I'm still going to be rolling hard every day and work, do my strength and conditioning, but live sparring days, I don't have to put myself through that kind of damage. I need to watch these guys work, and I need to coach them and stuff, and work mitts with them more, a little less of me hitting and more them, getting that work. So, yeah.
Well, the only other thing I would like to do is maybe we'll just finish on a little fun part. Have you ever heard of Desert Island Discs?
What was it?
Have you ever heard of Desert Island Discs?
Desert Island Discs. I don't think so.
Okay, Desert Island Discs is something that's run on the BBC over here in England. I'm from Liverpool, by the way, in case you couldn't hear the similarities between me and Darren Till.
Yeah.
But what Desert Island Discs is the premise is you're trapped on a desert island, and you're allowed to pick a certain number of songs to keep with you. Now, for the purposes of this, I know you've got to go, so could you maybe give me your 3 songs if you were trapped on a desert island?
Oh man, 3 songs. I would have to go with one of my first ever favorite bands. The reason that before fighting, I played music. I played guitar in a band, and then when I stopped playing music, I got a job I hated at the Passport Center, and I looked for something to be passionate about again, like I was about playing music. And that was where I found MMA. But Blink-182 was the band that I always listened to, and they got me to play guitar because I just love their they're so immature, and their jokes, and they were so awesome live, and I wanted to be a musician. So I'd say maybe Feeling This by them. That was one of my favorite songs of all time, from their Untitled CD. That'd be one of them. Man, probably The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves too. That's one of my my favorite songs. Me and my wife's favorite songs. And then, man, what's another one? I think Somebody to Love by Queen, maybe, or Bohemian Rhapsody. Somebody to Love is one that I listen to after retiring. It's I don't know, just that I work hard every day of my life. I try. That's a good one to kind of go out on after retirement, if I'm trapped on an island, whatever. Yeah. But yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah.
So I can hear that the children's voices in the background. It sounds like your gym's starting to get ready for classes. Is class started at the top of the hour?
Yeah, kids class is going to start in a little bit. Still have a little time. A couple of kids are filing in, but yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look what else I've got. So oh yeah, well, last thing we'll do maybe, if it's okay with you, do you need to go and get ready?
No, I'm already changed up. I'm good.
Okay.
If it gets too crazy, then you'll know because you won't be able to hear me.
Okay, great. So you mentioned about these fighters that you've got. Is the aspiration one day to coach? Is that something that you want to do?
For me to coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
I mean, coach pro fighters, like, as you say, you mentioned the UFC Bellator one. Is that something that you see in the future?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the whole thing, really. It's I have so many good guys that I'm training with that are developing they're early in their amateur careers, and I'm gonna still train with them, but I have to also train them, not just be their training partner. I feel like I've always been able to give them great looks and push them very hard. And I've always honestly been better in the room than in the fights. And again, I think the huge thing with that is that when I'm in the room, I'm just, I'm kind of in my zone. And then when I go and I'm in a fight, I'm getting coached and I'm not used to getting any coaching. And I'm just a little more out of my element. Whereas I want these guys to do their training and have have them hear my voice the whole time that that they're doing their training. And then when we have them go in and fight, they just hear it. And it's just another day in the office.
Yeah.
Where when I'm training, I'm not hearing anything from anyone. And then I'm in a fight and like, oh my God, I'm hearing somebody talk to me, which is not normal. Even if I work pads with them, even if they're, they're close with me or whatever, I chose to pull myself out of that familiarity by running my own gym. So now it's crucial for me to give those guys what they need. And, that's something that would have made my career better, but I would have, I could have possibly failed with this whole place because of that, because I'd have to remove myself more from this.
Yeah.
My students see me so much, and now they're just going to get even more of me, which is going to be huge for them. I know it will be. So, yeah.
I suppose just what you're saying then, it reminds me where you're talking almost like Mark Henry, the idea of the coding system that he has. So if you can implement that into your fighters, so when they're in the fight, your voice is almost like a song to them, or it's rhythmic, it's expected to be there. Then that's only gonna be good for their their nerves more than anything, isn't it? It's an element of comfort maybe as well.
Yeah, 100%. The comfort level is the biggest thing. You have to be comfortable hearing these things. You hear them in sparring, and then you hear them in the cage, and it's just like another day sparring. Mark Henry is an insane person in a good way. Just what he's able to create with his systems, it just blows my mind. But yeah, same exact thing. You don't want to, you don't want to call, say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, because it's like, all right, well, they're going to hear that you want the jab cross. So like, all right, does 1, 2 actually mean, feint, and then bring a high kick or something? Then that's a great thing to do, or like, it's just, you just don't want to give away what you want them to do. And that's like the problem. It's, in between rounds, totally fine. You go in there and say, all right, listen, you're landing to the head. But they're slipping a little bit, or they're pulling, let's start touching the body a little bit. Let's bring that cross to the body, get the head to come back forward, bring the hook off of that. But if you call things that are just exactly what they are during the fight, they're going to probably hear it and pick it up. Yeah. Unless you're fighting somebody that's Portuguese or something, or Brazilian speaks Portuguese. But for the most part, I've only fought a couple guys that speak different languages, and one of them I beat with a liver kick, so maybe that's part of it. Yeah. But yeah, it's important to have a system where you study the guy your fighter's gonna fight. You see where you think things will land, and then if they're gonna land, you've trained these things on the pads. They've worked them in their sparring to make sure that they can hit them live, and then you have a code for it. Yeah. I already have a handful of codes that work well, and I just need to make sure that I have all my fighters on the same page with them, and create their own for depending on who they're fighting.
Yeah, it's amazing, to be honest, that you've that I wasn't aware of that. I was aware that you owned your own gym, and you had for a number of years. Go on.
Sorry, say that one last thing one more time.
I was just saying that I knew that you owned your own gym for a number of years, but I didn't know you never had a head coach and all these things. And then today, for the last day or so, I've watched right through your fights up from. I think I went as far back as the World Series of Fighting, and it's amazing to look at your fights with that information, because they are a very similar pattern, aren't they? The leg kicks, the lead high kick, the high kick, the neck chokes. It's amazing to see that kind of your idea about not having a head coach and kind of, game planning whilst having other issues. It really shows in some of your fights. It's as I say, not knowing that piece of information and now knowing it, it fits a lot together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this last fight was the first time that I've had a head striking coach since I was an amateur. And I would go to him every week. We knew he was going to be in my corner. It was the first time that I worked with him in a camp. It's the same coach as Mike Rodriguez, as Calvin Kattar, as Rob Font in the UFC, Jake Manini. And he's, and it's one of those things that, like, it's tough because I know how much better I got working with him. When I retire now, it's like, man, what else could we, have accomplished? Because he was one that I was getting used to his voice, and I was sending him video of my sparring and stuff, and he'd talk to me about it. But it really would have been really nice to have him coach me during live. And he always invited me down. I'd be like, come down and do a sparring session with us, whatever. And it would have been hugely beneficial. And my choice was to do my sparring with my fighters, to bring in other guys from different gyms, which helps a lot to get new looks. But at the end of the day, I was staying home so that I could make sure I work with my guys because I'm their coach. And it's tough to remove myself any extra than I already have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of responsibility when you think about it, about being the owner of a gym and being an active fighter. And the other thing is just correct me if I'm wrong, but you said about you don't have a massive coaching structure behind you. So it's not a case of with one of these super camps where if, let's say, I don't know, we're talking about, where are we talking about just then? Jackson Wink. If Brandon Gibson or whatever goes and focuses on something else, there's other people to pick up the pieces. You own your own gym. You need to be there,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this fight was weird too, because the one person that would have been really beneficial to help me when I was in a bad spot, when I was kind of stuck on the wall, would be Joe Lozon. And because of COVID, I was allowed to go to my fight with 3 corners, no one else. My wife couldn't go unless she was a corner. And none of my cornermen could go there and quarantine early enough so that they could help me with the weight cut. So the only option was to have my wife come help me cut the weight so that I could do it safely, not die. And then, but then she had to corner me. So if that happened, my black belt coach, Jay Mansfield of Port City, he wouldn't have been able to come, or Jake, who I worked with my whole camp, he's the only one that I worked with my whole camp. He wouldn't have been able to come, or Joe Lozon wouldn't have been able to come. So how it ended up working, Joe basically said, hey, because of the pandemic, you guys haven't been able to come down once. I've seen Devin the least. I'm going to have her take my spot. So Joe couldn't even be there. So my wife helped me cut weight, which was mandatory. I needed that. But it was really tough not having him there, because he's just such a knowledgeable person, But, at the end of the day, I'm really happy with where I am. So, everything doesn't happen for a reason. But I think this time it did. So, yeah.